End of the Rope was released in 2023. This is directed by Charlie Griak. It's written by Daniel Bielinski and Griak. We have a cast including Joseph Gray, Chris Bylsma, Nick Saxton, Joseph Bezenek, and various others. And I apologise if I've mispronounced any of those names. And this, I thought, was a pretty interesting film. I'll read the description from IMDb. This doesn't spoil it, but I will say, if you have the same lack of knowledge as I did, don't Google it. Because I did Google it, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. It didn't ruin it. I still enjoyed it, but I would have preferred less information going into it. IMDb says, when a family mysteriously disappears from the town of Schaefer, North Dakota, suspicion lands on a sociopathic farmhand based on the true story of the infamous Charles Bannon case of 1931. And I had never heard of Charles Bannon. And I googled Charles Bannon, and what I learned was very, very interesting, but it did give me more information than I perhaps would have liked going into the film. So if, like me, you don't know who Charles Bannon was, I'd say go in without any information, and then if you're interested, do some Googling, read about it. It is really, really fascinating. If you already are aware of Charles Bannon, I don't think it will affect your experience, but obviously because I made the decision to go looking for that information, I'm blaming myself for maybe not having as much suspense with the film as there could have been because I expected certain things to happen. That being said, I don't know how accurate it is to the true story or these mysterious disappearances. I don't know if it's 100% accurate. It does say based on the true story, so I'm assuming there's a decent amount of truth, but if anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to let me know. But purely from the film, I thought the narrative was really fascinating. It's a really gripping story. I didn't know exactly what to expect. As I said, I did do a tiny bit of reading beforehand, but I obviously didn't have a lot of knowledge still, and there were certainly things in this that I didn't see coming. I thought the pacing was brilliant. I thought the characters were very well written. Again, I have no idea how accurate the characters are to the true individuals, but in general, I thought the performances were really strong. Visually, it is really appealing. We have a lot of really great scenes, a lot of great scenes to look at. The camera work's great. The atmosphere is very effective. The filming locations are quite interesting. According to IMDb, it was filmed at the Schaefer jail, and which for me is very interesting. We also have the Fairview Lift Bridge and Cartwright Railroad Tunnel. I don't know if they're significant or particularly worthy of note in North Dakota, but I thought I'd share that because that's on IMDb, and I do think the filming locations looked pretty brilliant, so absolutely no problems there. In general, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Great narrative, well executed. Again, I don't know how true or accurate it is. My knowledge is still pretty limited, so if you can expand on that, please feel free to do so. Great characters and performances. Again, don't know how accurate. Feel free to share if you have any insight there. But judging it purely as a film, I really enjoyed it. I thought the story worked well. It was a well-written, well-executed narrative with a lot of suspense, a great atmosphere, visually really satisfying, really strong performances. I really enjoyed it. Please feel free to let me know if it's not that accurate or if you just have any extra insights there. I'd be very keen to learn more. At some point, I might remember to look into more about Charles Bannon. As I said, I did a tiny bit of Googling beforehand, a little bit more afterwards, but nothing too in-depth. And if I ever come across any articles or anything, maybe when I'm uploading this review, I might have another look. But if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. And if it sounds like your kind of film, then I'd say it's one that's probably worth watching.